Hormones are chemical messengers. They are tiny little signals your body sends from one place to another. So they travel through your bloodstream and to your organs, and they kind of tell you what your organs what to do. When messengers get scrambled or when your body's not making enough, that's when people really notice problems like fatigue, weight gain. They'll go into their providers and get misdiagnosed and put on depression medication or sleeping medications.
Which we're not a fan of any of those unless someone really needs it, because oftentimes it can be corrected without getting on those medications that cause other side effects.
Yeah. Welcome to Look Good, Feel Good with Matt and Amy McKinley, the podcast where we bring you expert advice and honest, real talk on health, wellness, and feeling your absolute best. From hormone optimization to aesthetics and everything in between, we're here to help you live your best life. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Look Good and Feel Good with Matt and Amy. I'm Amy.
I'm Matt.
Today, we are going to be talking kind of hormones 101. Most people think of hormones just as like puberty or hormones when we kind of start to get hormones, but really hot flashes, mood swings, acne, that's what comes to mind when we think about hormones. But in truth, hormones are way bigger than that. They are kind of the body's secret messengers. They are working 24/7. Even when you're not thinking about them, they're working. So Matt, tell us a little bit about what you think.
Sometimes people will say, I'm too old for hormones, or they don't really matter to me at this point in my life. That's extremely false. And even a lot of doctors believe that.
I know.
And so great story. It's with my dad. So shout out to Dad. He's been on our hormone program.
How old is your dad?
He's 85.
Yep.
And he's been on the program for about 2.5 years.
I think your mom and dad were the first ones kind of put on the program.
Yeah, so we're moving on 3 years. But anyway, he goes into his primary care doctor, who he has an excellent relationship with.
He's a great guy.
He's a great guy. And anyway, Dad takes everything in that he's taken, and his doctor looks down the list and says, "You're on testosterone? What are you on testosterone for? That's going to kill you. It'll give you a stroke."
You're 85 years old. You don't need to be on testosterone.
Yeah. So anyway, Dad, in his very kind approach, kind of told him he was full of crap and said,
Well, he didn't say it like that.
Well,
he just
no,
said,
he did. He did it in his kind approach.
Yeah.
But so if you know my dad, which most of you don't, but he's very straightforward on things. He's not going to beat around the bush. And he'll kind of tell you how he feels. And we told his doctor, man, I feel great. This is the best I've felt in 2 decades. At the end of the day, they both came away with an understanding that he's going to do what he wants because he's the CEO of his health and he feels better. Although his doctor didn't agree with that, he didn't understand it. So It's like I always tell people, if you're going to have a knee replacement, don't have a cardiologist do it. If you're going to work on feeling better with your hormones, have a specialist do that.
Yeah. And honestly, if your hormones are off, you are going to feel it. And even if you don't realize it's your hormones, you feel something, something isn't right. You just can't quite put your finger on it. But most of the time you can trace it back to your hormones.
Yeah, a lot of times people, they don't really know what to think. And sometimes younger people will come in, patients, and they'll say something's way off. I think it might be my hormones. We get it tested, and oftentimes it's exactly what the missing link is to them living their happy, abundant life. So we see it. I kind of gave you both ends of the spectrum, but yeah, we'll see this in men and women in their 30s that are not feeling good as well.
And we'll kind of get into that to where when we do lab tests, maybe they are normal limits, but there's something.
But normal is not optimal.
You're exactly right.
Not optimal.
And we'll kind of get into that.
That's a big deal.
So let's break it down. Hormones are chemical messengers. They are tiny little signals your body sends from one place to another. So they travel through your bloodstream and to your organs, and they kind of tell you what your organs what to do. And they're kind of like little text messages to your organs. They say, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. So cortisol is a little different story.
Cortisol, if you get a text message from cortisol, it's going to say, I'm stressed.
It's usually in capital, like high, and it's over and over again. And it's exclamation point, exclamation point.
Yeah, high levels of cortisol, which we treat everyone for, because I feel like in today's society, we all have stresses, whether we think we do or not. They are there. They might be mental stresses, like I've got a deadline or I have something going on, I got to get ready. Or they could also be physiologic stressors that we feel, that our body systems are stressed. And that's one of the things that we can really improve a lot with optimization or controlling cortisol levels.
Yeah. So it's when messengers get scrambled or when your body's not making enough. That's when people really notice problems like fatigue, weight gain, no motivation, their energy levels kind of plummet. They have some anxiety or depression. And a lot of times when they have these signs and symptoms, they'll go into their providers and get misdiagnosed and put on SSRIs or depression medication or anti-anxiety medication or sleeping medications.
Which we're not a fan of any of those unless someone really needs it, because oftentimes it can be corrected without getting on those medications that cause other side effects.
Yeah. I mean, there's occasionally when I do prescribe them, but it's very...
Yeah, when they're needed, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about hormones kind of working together, there's, it's kind of like a little orchestra.
Yeah. Think of a conductor of a symphony. So we'll use thyroid, for example. It controls so many things. It controls your mood. It controls your body's function to regulate temperature. Metabolism, energy, brain fog. It controls so many things. Yeah. And testosterone is another great example for both men and women, by the way. It helps control your metabolism. It helps control keeping your lean muscle mass as you age. It controls energy levels. It controls your brain as well. So these things are all super correctable when they're off. I'll give an example of a truck driver a little over 2 months ago now. Probably about 3 months. I saw him yesterday, but he came in and he was one of these guys. He said, week 1, it changed everything for me. So his pattern was basically long haul truck driving to California and back. So he would get in a truck, grab trucker food, which he described it as donuts, hamburgers, fries, energy drinks all day just to get through. And he was overweight by about 20, 30 pounds and just felt lethargic. He said his brain just didn't seem to click well. Everything just felt off. We got him on our program, and he said within a week, everything changed. The cool part is, after we got his hormones balanced and his insulin resistance, that was a big thing with him as well. When we got that corrected, he said, my motivation shot through the roof as far as wanting to correct it myself, eating better, exercising, doing the things he needed. So now he's like 30 pounds down and feels phenomenal.
Yeah. So this is how it really plays out in real life. You wake up, you feel groggy, your cortisol levels, your rhythm is all off. You're craving sugar right about around 10 o'clock in the morning. You have that, you're snapping at your spouse at dinner.
Amy never has snapped at me.
Never.
At least since we started this podcast today.
That's true. About 10 minutes before we started. But, estrogen levels are off, progesterone levels, your testosterone, nothing is balanced. And your hormones are behind the scenes every day. People struggle and they chalk it up to just getting old. It's not. If you really look at your hormones, they need to be optimized. They need to be balanced to where you feel good. And that's kind of what we're all about.
Yeah, getting it all balanced. And I'm going to hop back to cortisol for a second because it's something we haven't talked a lot about.
I think there's a lot out there on cortisol, and everyone I don't know, cortisol kind of gets a bit bad rap, but also, it plays a big role.
Well, it can be confusing because high cortisol levels, when people feel burned out, that's one of the reasons. So cortisol is a hormone that can be regulated from what's called DHEA, which is produced in our adrenal glands. And you may have heard of adrenal burnout, or people that just say, hey, I'm burnt out. A lot of times they're not producing regulatory hormones to battle cortisol levels. And so we get that balance. That makes a huge difference too. People notice it pretty quickly a lot of times.
Yeah. And it's truly why so many patients come saying to us, I just don't feel like myself. And a lot of times, that phrase, we hear it all the time. I just don't feel like myself. I don't feel like I have energy. I don't feel like I just don't feel like myself. And it's probably been going on for about 10 or 15 years. And they've gone to multiple providers to get help, and they kind of feel a little gaslit a little bit. I know some of my patients have said, I had one patient And I use her example all the time because I absolutely love her. This doctor told her she'd been gaining weight and he told her to stop eating so much. And so she went on this diet, a diet that she didn't eat any calories, like hardly any calories.
But she still couldn't lose weight.
And she was
right?
eating, pretty good. And she still wasn't losing weight. And she went back in, told her doctor, and he basically told her, looked at her and like, you're lying to me. Like she felt dismissed. She felt like, I seriously am not. And if you followed me around, you could see what I was eating. I journaled, you could see what I eat. And she just felt frustrated because she felt dismissed and kind of felt like he was calling her a liar. And I give grace because we just weren't taught this in school. And I always tell Matt, I kind of feel like our eyes have been open to the truth of medicine and kind of going a different pathway of what modern medicine is and
Western medicine.
Yeah, and optimizing hormones to where people feel good. Maybe that's not normal on labs, but it's optimizing to where you feel good.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times we fall into patterns, and I'll use myself for example. For probably 15 or 20 years, you start to feel a new normal, but it's not a good normal. One thing I used to do, I was in surgery 2 or 3 days a week, and as soon as I got home, my pattern was park my truck in the garage, get out, walk through the house, and walk directly to the cupboards, directly to do something for my cravings. I wasn't hungry, but I was having cravings. And so guess what I would always reach for? Oreo cookies, crackers, chips, something easy, something quick, and something that would spike my insulin so I would feel good for a few minutes. Then it would crash again, and then I would be lethargic, lack of motivation, just back to that crappy feeling. So sometimes we get in these ruts and patterns and we don't really understand how bad it is until we fix it.
Yeah. And the big picture is hormones just don't affect how you feel just today. They affect how you age, your risk for disease, your quality of life. Optimizing your hormones just isn't about weight loss or energy. It's about longevity. It's protecting, and I talked all the time about protecting your heart, protecting bones, protecting your brain. And we know optimizing, especially as we go through menopause as women, we lose estradiol. And estradiol is so very important. And we're going to be talking about estradiol in some episodes, about how important it is to replace estradiol as we get older for those three big things: bones, heart, and brain.
Absolutely. Perfect examples. Here's the problem, though. Most men and women do not think about this until they've really hit a wall, until they feel really crappy.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing. It's very common. The key is to really kind of start looking at early symptoms. Get a hold of things before it gets too late. Do it before you start feeling crappy, before your energy's dead, before you have no libido. Grab onto this early because it can be treated early, and then you can live that life that you want, not just today, but from then on.
Optimization means what's good for you. And we're all different on where we feel good. And so none of these things that we're giving you is harmful. Bioidentical, meaning you make them. Like where I sit with some things, some other people feel better at lower levels. I feel better at higher levels in some things, where some of my other patients feel better at lower levels. And so we just optimize to where they feel good. Patients are always surprised at how quickly they start to notice a difference once they start on hormones.
Yeah, and our challenge as providers is to dial in a specific plan for each individual based on not just lab work, but symptoms and how they feel, and then really continuing to optimize it. It's not a one plan fits all. It's really getting the perfect plan for each individual. That's what we pride ourselves on, is really getting people dialed in so they can live a healthy, happy, abundant life.
Yeah. And so if you're listening and you kind of feel off, or you're tired, moody, low energy, gaining weight for no reason, it might be your hormones. The best part is you just don't have to accept this as being normal. That's one thing where we know that normal isn't optimal.
Or if you know a friend or loved one that you see going through this. I had a daughter that brought in her mother. The daughter is about 40 and her mother is about 70. Daughter brought in her mother and just said, hey, take a look at this. Let's meet. Let's look at your lab work. And her mother left with a whole new outlook on life. She's like, wow, there is hope for me to feel better again. That's the cool part of this.
And I mean, Matt talk about that all the time. Like the coolest part of our job is kind of sometimes sitting after the end of the day, talking about our patients' stories. And I think that's why we do what we do. And we truly believe in what we're doing. And we kind of feel like it's our cause and it's our why. And our mission is to help as many people that are swimming towards us that want help. Sometimes we have people that are just maybe are really into the insurance model and we don't subscribe to that. And so, but we truly believe we can help as many people as we can live in a happy, abundant life. And that's what we're doing.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.